everyone and welcome to my 2021 stats video. So today I thought I'd do a stats video because I really like doing these. I like going over all of my stats and seeing how I've improved, where I can improve, things like this, because there's quite a few interesting things on here, so let's go through it together. I'm going to start with my totals because that's just seems to be the most obvious place to go. And so this year in 2021 I read 184 books, which is amazing. Quite frankly, wasn't expecting that many books to be read, but then when I look back on it, I read a lot of graphic novels, which is obviously going to bring up my totals quite a lot. It's absolutely smashed my goal of 60 books, so very, very happy with that. I do not think I'm ever going to get to that point again, but quite frankly, very happy with that. It also meant that I totaled 44,741 pages read, which is, again, amazing. I have no idea if I've ever gotten that many pages read before, so I'm very happy with how many pages that were read in total. The library checkout bit is actually not accurate, same with books acquired, because I didn't add any of the books that I bought in December because I am scared. So I'm kind of skipping over that one, not gonna lie. And then also library checkouts is actually not correct either. I don't know where my spreadsheet went wrong here, but I definitely checked out more than 2 books from the library, so don't know where that went wrong, but there we go. Then the only other thing I've got to say on this page is the 8 rereads, and I know exactly what they were. They were the Skullduggery Pleasant books, because obviously I'm part of the Dead Famous Read Along and we are rereading, or at least reading, all of the Skullduggery Pleasant books, and I have read the first 9, so that should have actually been 9. I don't know why that says 8. Again, spreadsheet went a bit weird. I don't know if I put something in wrong, I don't know, but either way I read all of those again, so that's where the rereads come from, because I didn't reread anything else this year. As for my format breakdown, I did 8 audiobooks, which is more than I've ever done before because I've only just discovered audiobooks, so very happy with that one, quite frankly. Hoping to higher that a bit more this year. 115 ebooks. Admittedly, I was expecting that to be a little bit of a smaller number, but at the same time, not really, because a lot of the comics I own are on ebook, and a lot of my books are on ebook as well. And I haven't gone anywhere near physical library books simply because my library is closed at the moment and we are in current global situation, and I have a thing about germs, so that's why I haven't touched anything from the physical library all year. But I'm very happy with those types of stats, though. I don't really want to try and read more physical books compared to ebooks or anything. I mean, 61 physical books is also really good. It means I'm getting stuff off my shelf, but I mean, overall I'm quite happy with that, because I mean, it's all books read, quite frankly. That's all I care about, is getting books read. And I mean, I don't really care which sort of format it's in, as long as books get read, quite frankly. I just think it's an interesting stat that the majority was ebook, like always. As for my star breakdown, a majority was 4 stars, which I'm not surprised about. I do remember just doing a hell of a lot of 4-star reads. I may have to go on to using Core Pile or something to try and differentiate that, maybe, but I mean, I'm very happy with that. It means I was enjoying a lot of the books I read. I'm quite happy with having 6% of my reads being 5 stars as well. 3 stars at nearly 20% as well. That's fine. I'm quite happy with that as a stat. Quite frankly, still means I'm doing quite well. I would like to maybe get that orange-red section down a little bit more, because obviously that's 1 and 2 stars and DNFs. So I would obviously like to get that a little bit further down, but quite frankly, I love the fact that the majority of this chart is showing that I am really, really enjoying what I'm reading. So very happy with that, quite frankly. As for the age range breakdown, 69.6% was YA, and that's not surprising either. I marked down a lot of the graphic novels. Again, I'm talking about graphic novels, but that is the majority of what I read this year. I note down a lot of those as YA because I do see them as YA. They're not children's books, they're not adult books, and unless they are explicitly gory or something, I mark them as YA because I do believe them to be YA, and graphic novels don't generally have that sort of rating on them, and the ones that do usually say teen and upwards, so I count it as YA. That's why that is so big. Again, quite happy with that. Admittedly, I would have liked a bit more on the middle grade front. That would have been quite nice, but I mean, that's still about a quarter maybe. I don't know, I can't do maths, but I mean that's still a pretty decent chunk of my reading was middle grade, and it's about the same amount as adult books I read, so again quite happy. Maybe in this year I may try to higher that middle grade just a little bit because I really like middle grade and I should probably read some more of it. But apart from that, I'm quite happy with those stats. I don't really want to like change them too much because I mean it's all like age ranges I enjoy, quite frankly, so I'm just quite happy with that. I'm not surprised that YA is the most read age range, but yeah, I maybe wouldn't mind making the middle grade a little bit bigger, or maybe the adult section a little bit bigger as well. But I mean, quite happy with that. As for the author status, I read 10 debuts, very happy with that. I continued with 114 books from authors I've read before, and also 60 books that were like new to me authors, so that's really good as well. I'm quite happy with that because I mean obviously I want to continue reading books from authors I really enjoy, but at the same time I also want to support debut authors and find new authors as well, so I'm quite happy with that sort of like 2/3 authors I've already read and then 1/3 being like new to me authors, be it by debut or just new to me. So I'm quite happy with those stats as well. As for my series tracking, very happy to say that a lot of the books that I was reading were all part of series or companion novels, because one of my main things is that I really want to continue obviously with series and try and like read more of them and finish them. Obviously I was reading like Skullduggery, I was also reading a lot of like various series that were to do with certain superheroes that I was reading as each of the new like TV episodes came out or movies came out, so I was reading like whole series there, so that makes sense. I was making progress in a few other series, so I'm very happy with that. Companion novels, exact same thing. I'm very happy to be sort of working my way through series that way, and also that's a really good amount of standalones as well, because I didn't think I actually read that many standalones, so very happy with that stat, quite frankly. That was, again, probably standalone graphic novels. Yeah, that was definitely standalone graphic novels, thinking about it. Because I read a lot of those this year as well. Still very happy with that stat, quite frankly. I haven't come across a stat I didn't like yet, so we're doing well at the moment. And then for my genre breakdown, 112 graphic novels. I mean, I did want to get the graphic novel collection down, and that certainly happened because I read 112 of them. I mean, I've got nothing else to say on that one, quite frankly. Like, Marvel released everything this year, so I just went through a whole ton of stuff that I've been saving up since they announced certain projects. And then obviously I read a few other things. I read like the first one of Low, I continued on with the Fable series, I was reading like Miles Morales, things like this that weren't being released at the time. So, I mean, at least I was getting through the graphic novel section. I mean, as well, reading 49 fantasy books. I mean, that's lower than usual, but again, graphic novels kind of knocked everything out, quite frankly. But, I mean, I read 49 fantasy novels, so I'm very happy with that. One historical, that was probably The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, or something like that, I don't know, but one historical, bit shocking, one paranormal, one thriller, one non-fiction. Yeah, okay, so these ones, what was my non-fiction? I can't remember reading a non-fiction book. What was my non-fiction? What did I read last year that was non-fiction? Sorry, I'm going off track here now, but I'm just sitting there going, wait, I read a non-fiction last year? I don't read non-fiction. I'm going to see it and go, oh yeah, that one, but at the moment I'm just going, wait, what non-fiction did I read? That's bad, I can't remember, to save my life. Right, okay. I'm just scrolling through my Goodreads bit now, so non-fiction, non-fiction, non-fiction. That doesn't have a cover. What's that one? Oh, there's a wolf in your book. Okay. Which was a World Book Day book, actually, by Tom Fletcher. So I read that one. Just scrolling through. What did I read that was non-fiction? Oh, Dan Howell's You Will Get Through This Night. Yeah, that makes sense. I completely forgot I read that, but yeah, You Will Get Through This Night. So that was the non-fiction I read. Okay, that makes sense. I read 2 dystopian. That was probably The Promised Neverland. 3 contemporary, which is shocking to me because I don't usually read contemporary, but that's great. And then 7 sci-fis. I admittedly wanted to read 10 sci-fis, but I mean 7's a good shout. That's more than I've done previously, so it's on the up, which I'm quite happy with. And then 6 horror novels. I don't usually read horror, but because I was reading like Tokyo Ghoul and things like this, that's where the horror came from. And it's made me realise that I don't mind horror. So that's definitely something I want to try and read more of in the new year and try and read in 2022. Is maybe try some horror graphic novels, maybe some horror books, maybe. If you've got recommendations, leave them down below. So quite happy with that, quite frankly. I'd like to maybe, again, up the sci-fi, up the fantasy, maybe lower the graphic novels just a little bit, just so I'm a bit more even, but I mean, I'm very happy with that breakdown because that's all genres I enjoy, apart from usually non-fiction. But I'm making an exception because I'm a big fan of Dan Howell and Dan Is Not on Fire and Amazing Phil and all the rest of it, and I did need to read that book because it was all about mental health. So yeah, I mean, apart from that, I'm quite happy with these genre breakdowns, so I'm going to probably carry on, and this is probably going to be what my pie chart looks like every year, but I mean, that's fine by me. And then if you go for the sub-genres read, I read 2 retellings. I definitely read more than 2 mangas. I don't know where that came from, quite frankly. I think I was maybe counting everything as graphic novel. I don't know. 16 horror books as a sub-genre. That is great. 39 sci-fi sub-genres. Very happy with that. That means I smashed my sci-fi goal, quite frankly. So that is probably things like Low, anything with Iron Man in, things like this. So very happy with that as a sub-genre. Just, I'm quite happy with this as like a pie chart, quite frankly. It again proves that I quite like horror, so I'm going to have to look more into horror. But yeah, I mean, the sub-genres are quite frankly telling because it's more the same thing. I definitely want to up the retelling side of things, but apart from that, quite happy with that sort of breakdown. And then onto the final section, which is the author identity section. So I'm going to start originally with the own voices section. And I read 24 own voices books this year, which I think is the exact same amount as I did in 2020, yeah, because the last year was 2021. I'm getting confused about what the year is now. But January problems. But I'm reasonably happy with that. I was hoping that it was going to be more on that front, but I mean, at the same time, that's still on average 2 a month, so that's not too bad. In terms of non-owned voices, that's still 160 books of a non-owned voices, but as we go through the author identity and also the author nationality, it's a little bit better than that currently looks at the moment. Not excusing myself, I definitely need to hire up that own voices section, but I mean, it's not as bad as it could be. In 2019, I read like 1 own voices book and 1 diverse author in total. So I'm definitely doing better, but I would have preferred to do a lot better than I did in terms of reading own voices books this year. But on the plus side, at least it didn't go downwards. I was worried it was going to go down compared to 2020. At least it stayed the same. I would have preferred higher, but staying the same, it's still reasonable. I'm going to say reasonable. I'm not going to say it's good, but it's reasonable. Then if we go through the author identity, I had 116 books by men and 55 by women. I mean, that's more women than it was in 2020. I think I read like 30 books by women last year, so I've read more women this year, so that is definitely good. Obviously, the 5 unknown is all the manga artists, because a lot of them don't have pronouns anywhere on like IMDb or on Google or anything, so I did look, but a lot of them seem to be completely anonymous, which total respect on that one. But I am quite happy with the amount of women I read, but at the same time, I definitely need to hire it up in terms of like transgender authors, non-binary authors, and all of the rest of them listed here, because again, that is nowhere near good enough. It's better on the reading women front. I just need to do better on literally everything else in the queer identity there. Unfortunately as well, there wasn't a section on my spreadsheet for like author identity in terms of LGBTQIA plus and sexuality representation, and there also wasn't anything for disability representation. But in saying that, I know I did read several queer authors in terms of LGBTQIA plus, because I at least read Becky Chambers and also V.E. Schwab this year, both of whom are LGBTQIA plus. So I know I read at least 2 in that sense. I also read from Shauna Maguire, who is a disabled author, and I read from several others who I know have mental health issues because they've been quite open with it in the past. But this year I do actually have a spreadsheet that has like a disability section on it, so I should be able to track that a bit better this year. And then the final bit I've got is the author race bit, and this bit, again, it's still not great, quite frankly, because it was still 72% white, which means I read 126 white authors, which is not my favourite, quite frankly. Not my favourite whatsoever. But when we break that down, I also read 23 Asian authors, which is a lot more than I did last year. I also read 2 Indigenous authors, again, a hell of a lot more than I did last year. 14 Black authors, I'm pretty sure that's about the same as I did last year. And then I also read 5 mixed race authors and 1 Mexican author. So in that sense, it sort of worked out a little bit better than I did last year. But again, it's nowhere near the 50-50 section of it. But we are getting towards nearly a quarter of my authors being people of colour. So in that sense, we're getting better, but there is still a long way to go. And that is the end of my stats. Overall, I'm pretty happy with those stats. Obviously, there is a long way to go on a lot of things, so that is definitely something I'm going to be working on throughout 2022 and obviously throughout the future as well. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. There is progress being made in a lot of places in terms of like author diversity and reading more women, things like this, so I definitely need to keep on plugging at that. Apart from that, I'd say I maybe want to read, again, some more like sci-fi and obviously reading more novels versus graphic novels. But I mean, I say that every year and then I read loads of graphic novels. And I mean, I love graphic novels, so I'm not really going to complain that much about it because I'm still reading things I enjoy, quite frankly. So overall, pretty happy. Definitely places to improve, but reasonably happy with how well I'm doing. And with that, I'm going to leave this stats video here because that's all I've got left for it, quite frankly. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what your favourite stat of the year was, or if you don't have that much time, leave me a numbers-related emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, where I talk about most of the comics I read this year, quite frankly, so check that out if you are interested. Or if you're more of a bookish person, I'll also leave a link down below to my Etsy and Redbubble store, which sells bookish bullet journal stuff and bookish merch as well. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time everyone, bye!